Welcome Libra, thank you for joining me for your monthly forecast for May for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please also feel very free to comment or like. I do interact with every single one. Also, please feel welcome to subscribe to my monthly astrology magazine, regular updates, or your free daily horoscope. Please see the link beneath this video. Libra, we're living in momentous times. I always try to present my forecast in a sincere way. But I think some people might feel that astrology can be a bit trivial. But what I'm going to do on this month's forecast is take even more care to measure my words as best I can to take account of the COVID-19 crisis that we are faced with. This month begins with the Sun and also Mercury and Uranus in the part of your horoscope known as the 8th house in the sign of Taurus. The 8th house is about where we go through transformations, but it's also about where we're most deeply aligned, where we're invested the most. So in an emotional context, it can be very close partnerships, it can be business relationships in a more prosaic way, and it can also be, in a practical manner, anything to do with longer term finances. So we're talking about mortgages, we're talking about investments, shares, savings, pensions, and also property. And of course, all of these things have been under huge pressure with the fallout from the crisis. So this is a big month because I feel that you're going to be contending with precisely these issues in your situation. But you know, there is the potential for new energy to come in too. And I say that very, very carefully. Because as this month begins, Venus, your ruler, is in a magnificent location, your 9th solar house. Now that's about exploration. In relationships, it's also about the truth of the relationship. But it can be connections with people from different cultures to overseas. It can also be to do with travel. Now obviously travel is also under a lockdown. There's a lot of limitation around that too. But on the 5th of this month, the North Node, which is a nominal point, known as the point of destiny, inverses back into the sign of Gemini, which like you is an air sign. And this is going to bring in, over the next 18 months, a new energy. If you like, the North Node is the gravitational pull of the heavens for us all. So it's like a universal energy. And that energy, for you particularly, is around knowledge, but it's also around communications. So I think this, and also Venus being in this location, is going to see you thinking about things, thinking about your connections to others in a different way, perhaps learning things, potentially online, doing a lot more reading, that enlightens you and enlightens your outlook. Now, we do have on the 7th a full moon. And this is a full moon that if you have been really feeling the force of the fallout, gives you an opportunity over the next couple of weeks to really grapple with it in a head-on way. Because this full moon is the most passionate full moon of the whole year. It's in Scorpio. But it also links to Neptune, the planet of dreams. Neptune is very inspirational, but it can create confusion. And I personally think it's been very linked to the COVID-19 virus. But in this equation, and across week 2, but on the back of the full moon, week 3 as well, we're going to have the potential for you to use your imagination through the prism of Neptune in the 6th house about how you work or how you provide services to others and therefore connect to other people, the 8th house. But the full moon does suggest that if you do need to juggle your books, balance the ins and outgoings, reduce some costs, then imagination will help you to do that. Now it is true to say that Venus forges a not so positive link with Neptune for the whole of this month. Ironic, isn't it, really? And I think if you do encounter somebody through a quite ordinary situation, it could be through your work, it could be through a supermarket queue, someone that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see, you could encounter someone who actually really captures your imagination. But this person may not be all that they seem. So I'm not asking you to be overly suspicious, but just keep your guard up a little bit. If you meet somebody who's very, very different, larger than life, but you can't quite figure out what they're about. So you can use your natural air logic to actually decipher what's good for you. But it is true to say that all of this month, Jupiter and Pluto remain pretty well in an alliance in your sector of home and emotions. Now, because the 8th house, where the Sun, Mercury initially this month, and Uranus are, can be about bricks and mortar, it's possible that you may be thinking about some kind of change to where you live. And that can be triggered between the 11th and the 19th, when the Sun in Taurus forges an amazing angle to Pluto and Jupiter. Now, perhaps there's been a delay due to this crisis, or perhaps you've been unsure about how things will go forward. But something can transform positively for you across those days. I absolutely guarantee it. And then on the 11th, we see two big changes. Saturn goes into a retrograde in your sister air sign of Aquarius, and that's going to be going on through to the 28th of September. And it will be in Aquarius through to the early part of the 2nd of July. But that's just really making you think more thoughtfully about the things that are creative in your world or even your love life. And yes, Saturn retrograde can slow things down. It can inhibit. We have to be honest about that. But Saturn's still going to be playing a starring role this month, be assured of that. But also on the 11th, Mercury moves from the sign of Taurus into the sign of Gemini, therefore supporting this energy that's coming from Venus in the North Node. So that's a super change for you, because that's really going to make your thinking much crisper when it comes to checking out the reality of situations, doing your research, any probing you need to do. If you want to publish something, whether it's on a blog or something more formally, you can really be excited by what you can achieve at this time. Now, on the 13th, your ruler does go into a retrograde and Mars moves into Pisces. Now, Mars moving into Pisces is a fascinating change. It's been for the first 2 weeks of this month in your sister air sign of Aquarius, which has been giving you a real kind of extra allure in terms of your sex appeal. But the 6 weeks following, pretty well through to the end of June now, that Mars goes through its transit of Pisces, is going to see you working hard. And of course, work is a contentious subject because a lot of work's been limited, closed down. It's been difficult to just go about our routines in the way we would like. But I think we are going to see an emergence this month, a speeding up of events. And I think you're going to be very productive on the back of this change. But also Venus does go into a retrograde, which lasts through to the 24th of June. That does slow things down. It's just saying to you, really be persuaded by people's sincerity around relationships. I think that's very important. You've also got Juno in your sign, which is also about relating. It's an asteroid, and that's in retrograde as well. So in general, relationships for you may require a little bit of deeper thinking and reflection. However, on the 14th, Jupiter does go into retrograde. So when we've got Saturn and Jupiter in retrograde, I think we can still see the economy a little bit slower than we'd all like, or much slower than we all like. But I think it's all making us think about what's really right and proper for ourselves. So, for example, with Jupiter being in full in Capricorn, but in your sector of physical buildings, home, So if you are thinking about moving, you might start to question the affordability of it. But that actually could have some significant benefits that you can't perhaps recognise, even if initially you're disappointed, because an opportunity may come for you further down the track. Try to be philosophical like that. It really will help to keep you positive. Now, the 19th through to the end of the month sees Mars in a stunning alliance with Uranus. I mentioned Uranus at the start of this. It's in your 8th house, remember, Taurus. 8th house can be about money, investments, but it can be about innovation. So it's linking with Mars in your sector of work. Yeah, something new can come into your situation potentially. So stay alert and be prepared to take immediate and direct action if your hunch, Uranus, tells you it's good to go for. On the 21st, however, Mercury, Venus are side by side, Venus in retrograde, but the Sun switches into Gemini. For you, ordinarily, this would be tremendous. You probably want to jet off somewhere quite exotic with this combination. If there is an easing on the travel that we can do, and I think it's probably still going to be quite guarded at this stage, then that may be something you will consider. But equally, it could be that you want to change the scene closer to home, or you'll take up an activity that gives you a bit more personal independence, or you'll invest your time in higher education. But something that stretches your mind or your physical needs is going to be a good thing, particularly on the back of the new moon of the 22nd. And remember, I said Saturn, despite its retrograde, will still be an ace card in your pack, and it links brilliantly to this new moon. So the potential to be creative, to learn new ideas, to try different things in a way which has some real chance of success due to the stability of Saturn, can take you in through the first 3 weeks of June and the last phase of this month. 29th sees Mercury move into your sector of work, but Mercury through the sign of Cancer is not at its best. But I think if you have been thinking about making a change, or a change has been imposed upon you by this situation, now you can really start to juggle what the possibilities are. The last 3 days of this month do see Mars and the Sun in a right angle. I think this just points to all of us probably being a bit frustrated that things aren't going quite as quickly as we would like. But I think for you, as the last 10 days of this month come together, it is all about rejuvenation. But it may be rejuvenation around communications, rejuvenation around your way of thinking about things, your ideals, and also your philosophies, and also who you connect with can also change quite radically as this month comes to a close. Thank you so much for joining me for your monthly horoscope forecast. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my monthly magazine and my regular mail-outs, which are high quality astro journalism. You can also get your free daily horoscope within this emailed to you each day. Then again, if you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, or order your personal 12-month forecast and character analysis and get 30% off them, please see the links beneath this video. But for now, good luck and goodbye.